What's going on, everyone? LA Sports back with another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Toronto Raptors and why teams shouldn't want to play the Raptors in the playoffs, especially early on in the playoffs, and could they be contenders in the East? Can they be a team, that can potentially make have a shot to make it out of the East, like a team similar to the Atlanta Hawks of last year, where they made it to the conference finals, they competed, and they nearly made the finals. Could they be a team like that who, coming in, you're not really expected to do too much, and you end up, making a run? And I think the Raptors really could be a team that could do that this season, and with their fight and competitiveness and the grit they have every single game, I think it shapes them into that type of team. Taking a look at the current standings, the Raptors sit in the 8th spot. They're 4 games over 500 at 27-23. They have 2 games in hand on the 7th spot. They got a game in hand on the 6th spot, 2 games in hand on the 5th spot, 3 games in hand on the 4th spot. They have games in hand on everybody ahead of them in the East, even everybody behind them. And they're coming off some big-time wins. They're only 4.5 games out of first place in the East, in a very tight Eastern Conference. I mean, you look at it, teams 1-9 is only separated by 5 games. So it's definitely going to be a dog race right to the end, and the Raptors are going to be right in that race. Obviously, ideally, you don't want to make the play-in, but if you do make the play-in, it's much better to be in the 7 or 8 spot, because you would only have to win 1 game as opposed to 2, and you would have 2 shots to win that 1 game. So the Raptors are in a decent spot right now, where I think they'd win the play-in and they make a good series out of it. You look at some of the teams they've beat, especially of late, on this 4-game win streak. 3 of those 4 teams are the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference. They beat the Heat twice, and they beat the Chicago Bulls. And the last loss they had was to the Chicago Bulls by just 6 points, and they were missing some players in that game. Most notably Fred VanVleet, who is an all-star. Gary Trent Jr. got thrown out of that game. If he doesn't get tossed, maybe the Raptors win that one in a 6-point game. So very close. But they beat some good teams. You take a look at their last 5 wins. It's against teams right in that pack. The Hornets, the Bulls, the Heat twice, and the Atlanta Hawks, who they play tomorrow night, second night of a back-to-back. So it's definitely not going to be easy. But the Raptors have definitely played some good opponents. Even if you look at the previous win streak they were on, they hung in with the best of the teams, even in the Western Conference. And this Raptor team, they don't seem like they're done adding to the roster. From the sounds of it, they're going to be buyers at the trade deadline, which is on Thursday, so about a week away. They're going to sell a guy like Goran Dragic. Hopefully they get a decent bench piece that's actually going to play for them. That's been a huge struggle for the Raptors. I mean, their stars have had to play 40-plus minutes a night, and that's obviously something you don't want that, especially, leading up to the playoffs. You don't want your guys being too tired. But the Raptors are definitely in a good spot. They're a team that they compete with any team, no matter who they play, and they're that team that nobody wants to play. Like a team like Miami, they definitely don't want to play the Raptors. I mean, it just is what it is. The Raptors are that team that plays good defense. They play hard. They got guys that could score the ball. Fred can shoot the 3 from anywhere. Gary Trent Jr., if he gets hot, you do not want to, face him. They're pretty, they don't have a true traditional, big center, but they're a lengthy team. I mean, everybody in the starting lineup except for Fred VanVleet's like a 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" type guy. So they're a tall team. They're long. They're physical. They're well coached. This is a team that nobody wants to play in the playoffs. Miami, Chicago, Brooklyn. You don't want to face the Raptors in the playoffs, and they've been doing. They've been playing a lot of the season without home fans. And you go into the playoffs, there's going to be fans. That's going to be a huge boost for this team. You've seen over the last 2 years what has happened to them when they don't have fans in the building or they're not playing in their home city. They're a completely different team. When they come home to the fans, it's just a completely different story. And they get, a bit of a boost for when they go back out on the road. So I think this Raptor team's definitely a team that they can contend in the East. They could be a team that they win a couple rounds, and you don't want to play them when they get hot because, when they're on a streak like they are right now, teams like Chicago can't even beat them. So they're a team, like I said, that teams are going to look up for. They're a team that I expect to make the playoffs and give every team a run for their money. Whether they beat them or not, I don't know. I think they're going to definitely give teams a hard time, and I definitely think they can get out of the first round, second round. I think they can be a team that gets to the Eastern Conference Finals. And once you get there, you never really know what's going to happen. But as a Raptor fan, it's an exciting time, and you hope that they can continue to climb up. I think that they're going to be a team. I think they're going to pass the Hornets, who they're tied in. Tied 7 and 8 spot. And if they can get out of the play-in, that's a huge boost because not only do you not have to play in the play-in, you get a much-needed couple days off. And for this Raptor team that plays 40 minutes a night, that's going to help. The Raptors, like I said, though, I think this is a team that can get deep. Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent Jr. That's a really good five-man rotation. That's a really good five-man rotation. And if this team adds somebody at the deadline, which a lot of people are speculating and guessing that that's going to happen, and do that without taking away from those five guys, that's really interesting. It's really going to be interesting, and I think this next week is going to tell a lot about where the Raptors, really think they are. And how could you not be on high with this team? They won 4 in a row, 5 of the last 6. They're 4 games over 500, and the teams they beat have, they're no joke. I mean, the Bulls, the Heat, those are 2 of the top teams in the East. Those are 2 teams that could very well make it to the NBA Finals, and the Raptors have just taking care of them. And even when, there's an injury with the Raptors, it's next man up mentality. This is a team that they don't let anything stop them. And that's what you need going into the playoffs. Nick Nurse has done a tremendous job with this group. Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, they've done a fantastic job on orchestrating and building this roster. Hopefully the Raptors, all I ask for, though, at the trade deadline is go out and get some depth. You don't need a superstar center. You don't need that. You don't need to get a Miles Turner. Go out there and get guys like, I'm not saying this exact guy, but a guy like a Robert Covington or a Gary Harris or a Terrence Ross, guys like that. Even a Yusuf Nurkic if he's going to be at a good price. Those are some guys I could see the Raptors pursue. And with that Goran Dragic trade, that's more than likely going to happen. The Raptors need to take in $20 million of salary, so that's more than likely going to have to be a high-paid player or 2 mid-paid players. I know Reggie Bullock's been a name thrown around, Trey Burke, Dwight Powell. It's going to be interesting. And let's see where the Raptors go in this next week. But I think this is a team that nobody in the Eastern Conference should or, really does want to play. I think everyone knows what the Raptors are at this point, especially when you verse them. Eric Spoelstra said, every coach that plays the Raptors, you don't know what you're in for until you play them. And then once you play them once, you're like, man, I don't want to see this team in the playoffs. So I think this Raptor team is going to be good. I think they can make a deep run. They're experienced. They've won a title before, a few of these guys on this team. And I think this could definitely be a contender in the Eastern Conference, and they can make some noise. But guys, that's all I got in this video. You guys let me know down below in the comment section your thoughts on the Toronto Raptors. Do you think they could be contenders in the East? I certainly think so, and I think that nobody should want to play the Raptors, and they should all be scared and fear the Raptors as a potential opponent in the playoffs. But let me know all that good stuff down below in the comment section, and as always, please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel for you guys, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Let's go Raptors.